All right, guys, welcome back. This is a dual crypto market update, and I am joined by some great individuals from our community, Alex and Tyler. And we're just going to break down kind of the key things. We've already been talking for almost an hour now, and we probably should hit the record button a lot earlier. So today's going to be pretty unedited, hopefully completely unedited and unscripted. We're just going to talk about some of the key things that are coming across. We just had this, again, just I guess to highlight some of the key points that we've just gone over. Obviously, we have a Trump victory. We discussed how last night was a complete repudiation of the mainstream media because you could just see, again, I'm watching NBC, ABC, CBS, CNN. And, NBC at the best, it had an average of like maybe, a 250,000 viewers, 250,000 viewers. And I think at a max of like 400,000 at one point. And CNN had like a max of like 80,000, and they were averaging like 65,000. I was watching them very consistently last now. And then you have like the biggest live stream on the internet last night was the Rumble on Rumble, Steven Crowder with, was like within an hour into the election. They started at 5 p.m. They started at 6 p.m. Eastern, and they were already at 250,000 views and rose to 500,000 and 750,000. It was just, and then the Timcast IRL, Destiny, right on the left with like hundreds of thousands up to 1 million. So, people are just done with the mainstream media narrative. They're just done with listening to them. They're done with, kind of the hot takes on everything. And they want authentic stuff, like we just talked about how the humanizing effect of the Theo Von podcast and the Andrew Schultz podcast and Joe Rogan with, not just with Trump, but with JD Vance and with Vivek Ramaswamy and Tulsi Gabbard and RFK. When you have the mainstream media telling you these people are evil, and then you get to sit and listen over 3 hours, and they're super reasonable and intelligent and well articulate, and they've got great ideas and plans, and they're humble, and it's hard to. So anyways, we've gone over a lot of data, a lot of statistics, but I wanted to talk about this, and I wanted to get Alex and Tyler. I wanted to get your take on this because I also think what last night was not only was a repudiation of the mainstream media, it was a repudiation of centralized dissemination of knowledge, because we saw as we talked about the decentralized polymarket betting sites, and not just polymarket, obviously polymarket the biggest, but these decentralized sites just completely predicting the election, and the market responding, and Bitcoin calling the election well before mainstream media was able to intervene. So we've got a complete, I guess, celebration of decentralization last night. We have, and a complete denouncement of centralization. And I would also like to say, again, one I talked about this in my video on Monday, which was, for me, the most important issues going in the election. And obviously, number 3 for me obviously number 1 for me, very much like Tyler, I'm very anti-war. So that was my number 1 thing. I'm anti-war. I want to stop flaming tensions with Russia, and I want to end the war in Ukraine. And 2, the economy. And then 3 was we gotta get off this bus on the slow burn to socialism, because Nassim Taleb talks about like, well, you can't really do a cost benefit analysis if one of the outcomes is complete ruin and devastation. And he made that argument saying that you can't do a cost benefit analysis. He was making that argument for people who were coming out and hedging against Trump, basically coming out, people who weren't pro Trump, but who were coming out on social media saying like, well, I'm tentatively optimistic that like Trump could actually be a good thing. And so he came out, all guns a-blazing, saying like, nah, screw you guys, anybody who's coming out hedging against Trump, because, if Trump gets elected, a very realistic outcome is like complete ruin and decimation and destruction of the country. And he's like, when you have ruin as an option, you can't do a cost benefit analysis. But where I think he's completely wrong is that the left in this country seems to be very dedicated to a slow march towards socialism, which I would argue is again, maybe if in a reality, again, I can't predict the future, but let's just say that the fear on the left is correct, and that Donald Trump does become an autocratic authoritarian. Does strip away, any of the checks and some or any of the checks and balances against the government. Like, yes, that's a terrible, bad thing. But I put that, for me anyways, and I know I'm not exactly sure, but Alex might disagree with me, so I want to get his take. To me, the policies of increased redistribution, and more taxation, and again, just pushing us more toward, again, what shocked me when I went to vote yesterday is that, I guess it didn't shock me, but one thing that just like it concerned me. I look at the section for who I'm going to vote for president, and I look at the parties on there, and I'm like, what the fuck, dude? Because it's, it was, Donald J. Trump, JD Vance, Republican, Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, Democrat, and then Corey, or I can't remember what his name is, for the Libertarian Party. Jill Stein for the, Jill Stein wasn't even, well, I live in Iowa, so Jill Stein wasn't even on the Iowa ticket. But then the only other two were socialists and Democratic socialists, and it's like, what? Like we didn't have any other like conservative group or anything on the right. It's just like it was Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, socialism. You know what I mean? And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, how could this? Like, how could I get it? Like, obviously, so that to me is just like socialism is like very popular, and people who are thinking that it's not. But sorry. So my point. So I think that the slow walk into socialism is a guaranteed ruinous outcome per Nassim Taleb. So, there accordingly, I would argue that you can't do the cost benefit analysis with Kamala Harris either. But I would argue that like it's just a slower burn, and we got to get off that train eventually. We got to pivot. We know, in my opinion, we know the path. The study of the 20th century has shown us that socialism kills people and it just doesn't work. And when you cut regulation, cut taxes, and really invest in human liberty and freedom and decentralization, and you give people economic opportunity, and you throttle back government, humans flourish. And capitalism has lifted more people out of poverty. I mean, what, in the last 200 years than in humanity's entire existence? And that's due to capitalism. That's due to, well, not just capitalism, but free markets, right? Which is a key point of capitalism. So I want to get your guys' take on that, and then this map. So one other thing I think last night was a repudiation of was this idea of socialism or European-style socialism, because we've seen the rise in populism in Europe. We're going to see the rise in populism in Canada. Trudeau is out. Pierre Poilievre is in. Next year they're going to show that very, very, very clearly. And you basically had populists sweep the Western world. And this chart shows the European voting intention, how according to the polls, how Europeans would have voted. And what's interesting to me about this chart is I think the question should have not been like, I think you could just overlay this with the same chart. If you overlay this with the same chart of within the last, let's say 100 to 200 years, how much direct exposure have you had to communism? And I think like the answers would completely like line up, right? Where you can see, as the countries that have had almost no exposure to communism are overwhelmingly Harris, but then as you get down into all the countries that have any exposure to socialism whatsoever, like all the way at the bottom, they're like overwhelmingly Trump. You know what I mean? So, all right, that was a lot. But your guys' thoughts and takes on those two things, I guess.
You're right on point. And in my ticket in New Jersey, I had three of those. I had like, one was socialism and liberation. The other one was Socialist Workers' Party. The other one was Socialist Equality, like three candidates. And thinking that those made it into the ticket. And at the same time, Kennedy that had tried to be removed from a lot of tickets wasn't allowed to. That speaks a lot as to how there's always like a subtle, not even subtle, attempt at like doing some sort of manipulation. But the fact that you have like so openly socialist candidates in the United States of America for the presidential elections, where socialism is almost like considered like a bad word, it's almost like a taboo word to say. That is just ridiculous. And on this chart of the European voting intention, I don't know where this data, how they take this data, but I can tell you, for example, in my country, it just seems so outwardly to me that Italy would say 75% they will vote for Harris when they have an extreme right, when they elected an extreme right prime minister like a year and a half ago.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Yeah,
that is just so weird.
It says
so. Yeah, it's. I think a lot has to do with the fact that, to me, like the ideal socialism, without getting into good, bad, what it is, what it isn't, it always it always represented to me like that ideology that you embrace if you're envious of who's doing better than you, and you would want some external force to level up the field,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right? Because you can do it on yourself, or you don't want to do it on yourself. Maybe you feel like you're a victim of your own like bias, and you think, well, I'm at disadvantaged, and there's nothing I can do about it. And you just marry that status, and you say, so the government has to do it for me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's almost
Mm-hmm.
like an ideology that comes from envy. Um, and it's I think it's indicative of when a society feels like, when members of the society feels like there is like injustice, then they think, all right, so it's the government, is the fault of is the government's fault. They should be bringing that justice.
Yeah.
And so why, how do you do that? Through socialism, which is the exact
Yeah.
opposite.
Yeah. 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 Good stuff, man. Tyler, any thought? Great, great. You're absolutely right, and that's an interesting point of the difference. So here's another, I guess, another visualization, and it's I mean, because I just said like populism sweep the European worlds, and Italy is again another proof of that, and yet we have the polling. So, well, then the other thing too is like, well, we saw the polling in the United States, right? Like how the polling in the United States, like, I remember like the Ann Seltzer, as someone who lives in Iowa, on Iowa Reddit. I mean, Iowa Reddit's Reddit's heavily left, and so everybody on Reddit was like, "Oh, you see the Ann Seltzer poll? Like, oh, I was gonna flip Trump. He's gonna win by 4 points or 3 points." Iowa won, or Trump won Iowa by 16 points. Like all the polling was completely wrong. Like who did you poll? Like, did you guys go to Drake University and poll a bunch of libs? Like, what is going on? Like, so, Tyler, any thoughts?
Well, yeah, before I have to mute up and drive here in this short minute, I will say, as probably the only representative of the traditional left in our community, I'll say I grew up agreeing with the sort of redistributive policies of the traditional left. It's seeing a society where a lot of people do fall through the cracks and are extremely less fortunate than others through what appears to be no faults of their own. And like anybody, as you age, you kind of see the results of some of your policies being in action and don't exactly like them at a certain point. So, I had always agreed with this idea of government sort of putting their hand on the scale to help people who have done, much less fortunately than those of us who are incredibly fortunate. I had always seen an inherent fairness in that. And then as a result of recent policies, you see when government puts in their hand on the scale, you don't actually get a lot of help for those who are less fortunate. You get a lot of this recent.
Sure. Sure. Mm-hmm.
My French, but like as a
100%.
traditional leftist, I sit here and breathe a sigh of relief this morning. Personally, again, I have my reservations. Honestly, I follow a socialist podcast who broke it down this way, and it resonated with me. It said, if a Kamala presidency would have been playing Russian roulette with all 6 chambers loaded, and
Yeah.
with a Trump presidency, at least you get to empty one of them. You're still playing with 5 loaded,
Sure.
but
Sure.
there is this chance that you might not blow up the world. So we'll
Yeah.
take it better than yeah. That's again sort of a resignation from the traditional all left over here, but it's a sigh of relief for what it's worth.
That just made me. I'm sorry that this is what I took from that, because that was some great points. But on the, I watched, obviously Musk was on the Joe Rogan show, and one thing they talked about was John McAfee. And I remember, when our show started, kind of blowing up, 2018, John McAfee was very influential, and there was that period where people were saying John McAfee was the creator of Bitcoin there for a while, and then he went on the run, and then he killed his neighbor, and things were crazy. But apparently, John McAfee had this party trick, because he went on the Joe Rogan podcast while he was on the run from the government, when he was in Costa Rica, and he appeared, called in from an undisclosed location, and they hosted him, and they sent a reporter down there, unrelated to the Joe Rogan podcast, but a reporter went down there to interview him in Costa Rica, and the story the reporter told is that John McAfee had a revolver and put one bullet in it and spun it, and played Russian roulette with himself, and apparently had some trick about where the bullet was. But that's just, sorry, that's what made me think. So I don't know what happened to John McAfee. Probably he's dead. Probably somebody took him out. Okay, let's get to some. I'm sorry that's what I took away from your points, man. But absolutely, I agree with a lot of what you said. Let's look at some stats here real quick. So Bitcoin's market cap around yesterday evening, before the results started coming in, was sitting a little bit above 1.35 trillion, and we are just shy of 1.5 trillion. So almost $2 billion coming into the market cap, or over almost $200 billion coming into the market capitalization over 24 hours. We do have official confirmation from all the mainstream media that the Harris campaign has officially conceded. It was last night, before Trump went on and gave his victory speech, it was being reported on a lot of conservative shows that she had called him, and that's one of the things he was waiting on. Obviously, he was waiting on them to call North Carolina, he was waiting on them to call Pennsylvania, and then he went on and claimed victory. And that they were, again, watching the conservative shows, they were kind of encouraging him to do that, like a couple hours before then. They were encouraging him to go and declare victory at like 7 p.m. When independent sources were calling Georgia for Trump. And what really was the bellwether was the complete landslide in Florida, right? So that was the trend that really. So she has officially conceded, and she is scheduled to speak at Howard University here at, I think, 1 minute. She was supposed to speak at 4 p.m. Eastern, so it's 3 o'clock Central now. All right, so I want to talk about this Unchained article real quick, and so this is markets now, so I want to talk about this Unchained article. So Unchained headline here is Bitcoin just gained $100 billion in market capitalization overnight. Is it time to take profits? And so this is where I want to just get away, pull back a little bit from, we're really kind of getting out there on thoughts and philosophy and stuff. And I want to just get a little into trading practicality, and I want to talk about two potential strategies moving forward. So I didn't talk about this yet on the show, but one thing that I did last night, and I was talking with Alex about this, was, last night I ended up taking some pretty big bets long on crypto. And I came out, as you guys are aware, viewers of the show, I came out last week. I hadn't made content in a few months, I've talked about that. I was going through some personal things, needed some time off. But I came back last week and I started making content, and I'm committed to putting out a little video every day and doing more and growing this community. And last Tuesday was my first video, and I've made a video excluding the weekends every day since then. And they were very bullish. My contention on Tuesday, because it looked like we were breaking out last Tuesday, was that, hey, this is it. Let's load up. Let's go 2025. It's time to go. And then, and then we had 6 days of pullback, right? And my thumbnails changed. So Tuesday's thumbnail was bullish, green thumbnail. Wednesday's was green, and then red. And somebody called me out on that. And so my official policy is that the color of the thumbnail, because I have a green thumbnail and I have a red thumbnail, the color of the thumbnail is just tied to the color of the daily candle, because that is, you know, very relative to how I actually trade with my strategy. So, but go back and watch me, right? I was consistently bullish throughout all of this. Every single down red day, I was like, guys, we're gonna pump. Let's go, load up. And even on Friday, when it looked like we might be fully breaking down, because on Friday I talked about how we were at the well, let's go to the chart real quick before we get into this article. Then on Friday, my analysis looking at the daily was that Bitcoin's price had come down to the Gann swing high low, right? So this is where we were at on Monday, and I said, you know, this is put us into a bullish trend on October 14th, and you know, that's essentially went up in long, and I de-risked a little bit here, and then I started again. I started buying all throughout this week, and by buying I mean I was moving from what had been about an 80% cash position to a 20% cash position, and I just consistently did that, and then the dry powder that I have is going to be for alts and degen moving forward into 2025. And we didn't get that. Obviously, we can see technically we did not break down. I did not have to open up a short as I cautioned about, and I just was able to. But last night, before we had this pump, right? I remember, you know, I had a big people over, and you know, was cooking chicken dinner and stuff. Was frying chicken, making Asian noodle sauces, and once everybody was fed and we were kind of winding down, and people were starting to have a drink, and I just realized, I'm like, listen, like I really have the conviction for this. Like I know that I'm right, and I know I can go and put on a size of trade that's within my risk parameters, but it's going to be worth my time. And I just went in, right? And I bet big, right? I bet big on Bitcoin, and I bet big on memes. And the rest is history. So today was an overwhelmingly profitable day for me. Big wins. And so in the wake of that, I know that there's a lot of people out there that are going to watch this, and maybe even you guys yourself, who regardless, so you're only in one of three positions. I don't think that a lot of people are naked short on BTC right now. And to those people who are, I mean, you know, may God have mercy on your soul. Like, you know, like I hope that you, I don't know, like I hope you reevaluate your strategy. You know what I mean? Because and I hope that the people that you're following, because I saw a lot of people, you know, on Twitter, on X, saying, you know, on YouTube too, you know, like, you know, chart bros be like, oh, we're shorting. We're like, this is it. We're shorting. And it's like, I just really hope you understand and like go, like, stop following those people, like unsubscribe from those people. Like, I know that I haven't always been consistent with my content, and I'm not just sitting here trying to toot my own horn, because I get things wrong all the time. But I own up to them when I'm wrong, and I've been making content since 2018 and 2016 really, and I've had some really good calls, and yeah, like, you know, you just have to see the writing on the walls and like understand bullishness and momentum. Like I talked about this on Monday too. When technicals to a degree, when you're talking about speculation, can go out the window quite quickly when you're in the midst of a catalyst, right? And in crypto's so momentum based that if you just get the direction right, then you can be looser with the more technical aspects of your strategy. We got to get the direction right first. So anyways, not to toot my own horn, but I just want to point that out. We didn't break down, but me personally, yesterday I came into the office and yeah, I just bet big, and I think that's right. So and this is lessons I've learned from great traders, is that, you know, I'm a big advocate of systems trading, and that accounts for 80% of all my trading. But as I've now built up a war chest, as I've built up my trading account, I now have the luxury, because I know that I've got regular income, because I know that my strategy is going to generate profit whether the market's up or down. And so I'm able to build up an account. And that gives me the discretion to be able to take the risk to put money into my discretionary trades, and to step on the gas when I feel that the winds are in my favor. And that accounts for 80% of my profit. Okay, so let that sink in. My strategy, all right, my systems trading strategy that's purely technical, right, not based on anything. I don't look at news. I don't look at anything else as far as that goes. That is 80% of my trading. Okay, but 80% of my profits come from 20% of my trades. Okay, so that's important there. So with that in mind, the other two camps, if you're not naked short, that means you either are up quite a bit right now and riding high, or, you know, maybe you got a little bit in, but you're looking at maybe like going heavily in right now. And so what do? Well, now that's why I want to turn to this article. And I want to talk about this article because I think it's laid out pretty clear between the two camps. So price of Bitcoin jumped as it became clear the pro-crypto candidate, Donald Trump, was going to win the election. Can it keep going higher? So let's go down here. It talks about how we went. We're almost at 1.5 trillion. And then they quote Matthew Sigel. He's VanEck's head of digital assets. And he has a firm belief that Bitcoin's current run has room to go. He says, quote, "We don't think anybody should take profits here unless they need the money to eat or shelter themselves." So very, very bullish, very clear that up only pretty much. And then Seth Gins, managing partner and head of liquid investments at Coin Fund, agreed strongly, saying, quote, "We're very positive on the outlook from Bitcoin from here, as one of the Trump campaign's core policy points has been the establishment of a U.S. Bitcoin strategic reserve. We expect that to catalyze other countries to do the same." So again, having basically calling for the U.S. to be a massive buyer of Bitcoin. Further noting that he thought Bitcoin's price momentum in this case was a good thing to ride. Quote, "We're also breaking into all-time high territory, which in the past cycle led to fast and material price appreciation." And that was before we had Bitcoin ETFs expanding access. All right. And then, of course, the countervailing point is that, you know, Bitcoin's up 7.2% in the last 24 hours and 14% in a week. You know, you should probably take some profits off the table. With CryptoQuant's founder saying Bitcoin's price could go up 30 to 40% from here, but not like the plus 368% we saw from 16K. So whether he's right or wrong, he's saying time to consider gradual selling, not all in buying, in my opinion. All right, and then we have some more. So I basically want to lay that out, right? You have to choose, because I could make the case for either way, okay? I could make the case for either side of that argument. And I took some notes here. So one method here is, again, that nobody should take profits and that the rally has far more to go. And that would suggest that this is one of those trades and one of those times where if you want to actually make some fucking money, you got to put your foot on the gas pedal. Like we got to go. You know, if you're on the sidelines, why? You know, no guts, no glory. If you don't size up and take the positions, then you're wasting your time. On the other hand, okay, being prudent, taking profits when the market spikes is just, that's strategic trading. And so really the effect, obviously in hindsight, it's going to be easy to say which side you should have been on, because if we come back in a week and Bitcoin's up 50%, you know, of course you're going to be like, oh, Justin was a genius for recommending that we just put our foot on the gas. But if Bitcoin pulls back, 10, 15% over the next week, right? Even though I fully believe we're going to continue to rally up, after that, they're going to be like, oh, of course you should have taken profits. Like, look how overbought we were. Like, look how much we spiked in such a quick time. So you just really need to identify what you can afford to risk. All right, is the key thing here. You have to afford what you can afford to risk, because again, going back to my story of just my personal trading, because I've been doing my systems trading for so long now, over a decade now, I've built up enough of a war chest that I can comfortably take discretionary trades. And I can just say to myself, okay, well, I can stand to lose X amount of money. And I know that projected over an X period of time, I'll recoup that loss from my systems trading or potentially another successful discretionary trade. And so if you're in that position, and by the way, you can choose to be in that position, whether your account size is $1 million or $100. All right. You just have to be able to, set risk baskets, put money into those risk baskets, and respect those baskets that you set. So if you set aside, if you have a $1,000 account, you're going to say, okay, $800 is going to be capital for just systems trades, but I'm going to allow myself $200 to make discretionary trades with. And if you blow that $200 on discretionary trades, you don't dip into the $800 in the systems trading. You don't. And if that $200 is really bankrolling, you don't pull from the $800 basket to then size up on the trade that's going well in your favor. You've got to be able to cut your portfolio into separate things that you're going to do with your money and respect that, right? Because discipline is the number one rule for trading. So listen, I will just say that when you feel that the cards are in your favor, like I felt last night, and you take that risk and you size up, that's how you're going to get those outsized rewards, right? And I don't know like what you need to see to verify that for you on this particular trade. On the other hand, if you're in a situation where the money that you made last night or the money that the profit you're in right now is significant, is potentially life-changing, then you need to do what's right for you and not be a degenerate gambler. All right. Especially, and I think a lot of people are probably in this situation where they would be uncomfortable if price were to pull back, right? Like if you're only going to be very have a lot of conviction and being a bull right now, contingent upon Bitcoin just continuing to push up, like immediately, like right now, like continuing to push higher tomorrow, the day after, through next week, but your liquidation level is like less than 5% away. And if I say to you, like, well, what happens if Bitcoin dumps 10%, moving into the end of the week or of the weekend, and you can't stomach that because that would take away all your money, then I would say that you're not set up very well in the trade. So if you're in a situation where you're over leveraged or you're in a bad situation and you can't stomach a pullback, or if this is significant life-changing money, take a little bit of profit. Don't market sell your whole position. Take 20 to 50% of your profits off the table. Move your stop loss up a little bit so that if your stop loss gets hit, you at least make a little bit of money, and then just continue to do that. If price dips, buy. As price goes up, move your stop loss up, take some profits off the table, right? Scale in, scale out. And it's really hard to do. That's, again, this is why, we called the bottom of the bull market back in October of 2023, or excuse me, the bottom of the bear market back in October 2023. And, I can't trade your account for you. You just got to be consistent about using that weekly with your spot buys and positioning yourself right, scaling in on the way up so that you're not ever in this situation where you're like, oh, I'm like completely sidelined, I don't know what to do. Yeah. So that's my thoughts on that. You guys have anything you want to say about those concepts?
No, I'm with you on that. I mean, that's definitely the right approach, and what you've been teaching us all these years in this community. So it's really about setting up your strategy, find the discipline to execute it, and then cut out the noise. Yeah. My gut feeling right now is that this is one of those situations where, yeah, you might, if you're like a long-term holder, or if you're like more of a longer-term trader, taking profits now, I feel like is risky, just because if you do that, I mean, I will do that with the purpose of trying to re-enter at lower prices. Mm-hmm. But I made that mistake when Bitcoin was at like 35K. That I'm like, oh, it's not gonna go higher. It's just been going so much high. Let me take some profits, and then I re-enter when it retests 20K or 25K. And then, it retraced like to like 32 and something.
Sure. Yeah.
And then to 31, and then boom, and never went back there again. So there's no guarantee that, of course, we're going to have pullbacks, but maybe the pullback is going to be back to 71. And so, it's the risk of missing the bus, of not catching that, and then having to re-enter where we're at 80, because now you realize, oh shit, it's not gonna go back down below 70.
Right.
It's just too high at this point.
For sure. Yeah, good thoughts. All right.
Yeah,
so
it's not the hard part with that is that you don't only have to be very good at catching a top, but you have to also be very good at catching the subsequent bottom.
Yeah.
So it's two things that you have to get right.
All right, so I want to, okay, I got the right chart. Here. So let's talk about, I'm going to make the call, guys. I am going to make I'm going to make a price call here in a little bit. I'm going to call it, but let's just go over, what method do I recommend for navigating, blue sky breakouts, right? When we're in uncharted, sorry, my charger just fell out. Because listen, obviously when we're below an all-time high, we have something called resistance and multiple levels, like we've got anything, whether we're going off wicks, whether we're going off closes, but we've got a roadmap for, hey, this is maybe how high price can go. And once we are in uncharted territories, well, how do we now then predict what are going to be resistances. And from a price action perspective, you do just really have to watch the market and watch volume, because as price continues to move up, you're going to have, low volume nodes where price moves pretty quickly, and then high volume nodes where price disagrees and you get consolidation, and those are going to become your battleground areas. But if you want to be able to do somewhat predictive modeling and try to call some price targets, then as I've said many times, I'm not the biggest fan of Fibonacci retracements, just because I find them to be inconsistent over a large sample size of trades, so over 100 trades, over 1,000 trades. But they can be really helpful and useful for analysis, and they're also pretty helpful. It's my go-to tool for projecting out when we're in blue sky breakouts. So we're on the weekly time frame, and all I've done is I've taken a measured movement from the previous all-time high down to the current low of the pullback, and just projecting from the current all-time high breakout, right? So we're basically just looking at what measured moves would be, and so that gives us this. So now we can hide this. Let's hide this. All right, so we can hide this, and we get the following zones. All right, now looking at Flimp's automated strategy that fired in our Discord. The signals are free, by the way, for those watching on YouTube. Go check out our Discord, link in the description. And I saw, and I mean, he's blindingly accurate with his calls, especially to the long side. So his bot was calling for a price target of hold on, let me just double check. Let's see here. Let's just double check what Flimp called. Yeah, where's he looking at? Yeah, TP is $78,476.70. All right, with a stop loss at 73,189, entry at 74,359. So Flimp. Actually, that already got stopped out. So why am I even like? I think his stop is just way too tight. Yeah, I think his bot, because I've looked at the stats of his bot, I'm not really understanding. Obviously, it's all automated, but this, yeah, it just seems like he got his risk wrong because he hit his SL, which doesn't. Anyways, because overwhelmingly his TPs are correct, so I don't really understand the tightness of that. I get it, because it's 5-minute strategy, so maybe the 5-minute and the 15-minute will fire differently. But his strategy was calling, his moments of strategy was calling for 78,476. So again, more than that, RIP that particular trade, but just watch, he's going to come back and nail it with 15-minute. So too tight, I think, on the risk there. But again, I'm going to agree with his conception, because if we were to go look back at that chart, it would give us the 382 retracement. So just the first retracement, the most conservative retracement, is going to give us this zone of about 80,000 to 84,000. So I think Flimp calling that from the 5-minute time frame, very conservatively, about $2,000 underneath that, 78,000. And we're getting very close there. The high of the day was 76,481. So we're just $2,000 below that, and Bitcoin can do that in 15 minutes. So that would be my conservative measured move target would be the 80 to $84,000 zone. All right, that would be the first place. And again, like I said, if you scaled down here, or if you scaled up on the way out, or even if you bought some big, like last night, like me before the breakout, there's nothing wrong with taking 20% profits here. That's fine, and moving your stop loss into a no loss situation. I think that's probably the correct thing to do. But if you're sitting here and you're completely sidelined, and if you want to bet on Bitcoin going up, well, then the first target zone that I would be looking at is about 80,000. Where do we want to be putting our stop? Most likely below the low of this weekly candle, or maybe even slightly tighter. We can get down on like the 4-hour time frame and analyze that in a little bit. But this feels right to me, slightly below this low, because if we give back the gains, or if we just completely start sinking, then it means the momentum's broke. And if the momentum's broke, that's it. And you don't hold the long on the downslide. You wait until the downslide reaches a peak, and then you buy the dip. All right, so you don't hold losing longs. All right, so you could absolutely go down to the daily, use your baseline, go down to the 4-hour, use your baseline, and get out of this much earlier, following our system. But I would be looking, yeah, so this would be my conservative call, the $80,000 to $82,000 zone. Where I think price is much more likely to go is 86 to 90. All right, I think 86 to 90. So what did I have written down here? I just want to make sure that I call what I said I was going to call. So, oh, look, I'm okay. So I wrote down that I'm only going to I'm going to conservatively call for $80,000 Bitcoin, $79,000 to $80,000 Bitcoin, $79,000, $80,000 Bitcoin. I'm calling that here on stream. That is going to happen before we pull back. All right. Now, if we really get ripping here, the pullback from the previous all-time high to the current dip was about 52%. And so projecting that out from the all-time high breakout would give us our aggressive price target of where Bitcoin could rip to over the next few weeks, which is 109,000 to 117,000. All right. So I'm not calling that. Okay. I don't feel confident enough to call that yet. That's all going to depend on momentum, buyers coming in. You know, it seems like, again, things were really great last night, but people are selling right now. Like obviously people are selling right now. And so the market is just waiting to see, because people are buying too. Otherwise the market would be dipping a lot. But we have hit, you know, not a wall, but we've hit our first fight. All right. And it's going to be the resolution of this fight that is going to be very telling for how the next week is going to go in the immediate aftermath of a Trump victory. You know, is it going to be, you know, are we in Pumpvember? Is this it? Let's go. Or is this, you know, hey, obviously really, really positive, but we're going to have a lot of profit taking, and we're either going to stay kind of flat in battle here for a while or have a slight pullback or a more pronounced pullback. I mean, of course, that's completely positive, but I'm going to call 80,000 definitely going to happen. Moderate price target. What I think is more likely though is between 87 and 90,000, and where I would love to see price up is above 100,000, between 110 and 117. So from that perspective, if we're swinging long right here, I mean, you've got basically, you know, you could split your risk however you want between these first two risk areas. I mean, obviously from 76 to 80,000, I think is a great trade in and of itself, but that's where I'd be taking initial profits off the table, scaling out a little bit more as we get close to that 90,000, and then, you know, either waiting, probably not like blanket taking profits here, looking to see if we get a blow off top there. So we want to see high volume, we want to see reversal signals on the daily, we want to see everything massively overbought, and then that's when we would want to be taking profits if the market is going to be so kind and give us such clear direction TA wise. All right, we got about 8 more minutes. Alex, do you have any, Tyler, I know you're driving, but did you guys have any thoughts on that?
No, I'm with you on that, and I think 80 to 82 range is one that I've heard a lot, which I mean is good and is bad. But if you go a little contrarian, then maybe that means that that's not what's going to happen. But it feels like a target that makes completely sense looking at the chart.
Sure, man. Thank you. Let's go to, just quickly, let's just go to CoinGecko. And I want to see so look at our categories here and just see where funds are flowing in the last 24 hours. So the pump fund ecosystems, these are all Solana meme coins. The market is up 42%. Solana memes are up 30%, AI memes 28.6%, automated market makers like you, so decentralized exchanges are up 28.6%, yield farming's up, cat themes up, dexes are up. This is crazy. Liquid state, everything's up. But what I mean, obviously, listen, memes are leading the charge, and so that's what I said last night. Last night I took a big bet on Department of Government Efficiency. I have some Popcat, I have some Fartcoin, I have some Goat, just all the memes, right? Mostly AI memes. But I got the Elon inspired memes too. And then I obviously went big in Doge, not Department of Government Efficiency. This, what we're looking at on the chart, this is the small cap FDVs, 71.3 million. This is the Department of Government Efficiency specific coin, but I got the regular Doge on BYDFi last night. So, also, guys, if you want to get on a good exchange, not a full advertisement here, but definitely go check out ByDFi. Link is in the description. 0% spot fees, competitive futures trading fees, access to a wide variety of coins, rewards, KYC VPN free, North American friendly. Just great exchange. And again, full uptime last night. Fast execution. Market orders were happening. Have had no issues with ByDFi yet so far whatsoever. So let's look at the pump fund ecosystem. What is moving up the most over the last 24 hours? We have Earl, market cap of 18.8 million. AI with daddy issues at 14.6 million. Malachi at 1.8 million, and Real. LOL, Popcat, all of those things were trending pretty well. Where's Goat? Goat falls into this category. Fartcoin is obviously in this category as well. Not really seeing where they're at. They might be down. Let's see here. Yeah, I'm not really seeing them. Oh, there was Goat. Goat's still up, but not leading the charge. So those are doing well, and then followed by Solana memes, and then AI memes. But interesting to see that DEXs are also way up. So, I mean, this is just, I think this is speaking volumes here. Uniswap up 31.1%. ZK Swap Finance up 31%. Radium up 27%. Polka Bridge, Pendle, Aerodrome. I mean, yeah, so I mean, the market is speaking very, very clearly. Where's the money flowing right now? The money isn't even flowing into layer ones, layer twos. I mean, obviously it is in the sense that these projects are on those. But the market is consistently choosing. It's absolutely obsessed with memes right now. And it's absolutely obsessed with decentralized trading and yield farming. So market is very, very clear that DeFi is here to stay, and that's where the money's going right now, and good stuff. Okay, so final thoughts. I think this is overall, I think last night's victory was going to be great for crypto. Gensler is going to be out. Jerome Powell is probably out. Yeah, Gensler is definitely out. And the SEC's policy of enforcement, of regulation through enforcement is coming to an end. It's just horrible. It's actually, I got a few, let's look at my bookmarks here for today. I got a few. Yeah, so again, you know, big shout out to Elon Musk saying the reality of this election was plain to see on X, while most legacy media lied relentlessly to the public. You are the media now. Absolutely true. I mean, everyone, you know, mainstream media was saying that, oh, X isn't reality. Actually, X is where the truth is nowadays. It's absolutely where the truth is. What else do we have here? Yeah, Gensler, we're coming for you. We're coming for you, Gary. Like, it's over, man. It's over. Pack it in, dude. Like, you've been horrible to decentralization and to all these crypto companies just coming in and trying to stifle innovation, censorship, trying to censor the Ethereum blockchain. It's over, dude. You're out. Run for the hills. Yeah, that's about all I got right there. I guess my last thought, quickly looking at the charts. I guess I don't have too much to say. We can look at our liquidation heat map here real quick. Yeah, I mean, still lots of short liquidations. So, and I think ETH is more poised for a squeeze to the upside here than Bitcoin. So if I want to take a strategic hedge of Dre, I'd probably be long ETH. But I'm just going to chill here and see new all-time high, and we'll see where things are going. So, all right, guys, I think with that, we're going to wind down. I'm going to post this to YouTube. Pretty much actually just the way it is. I think it's just fine. I think people will like this more longer form style. I want to thank Alex. I know Tyler's driving, hasn't commented much on the last little bit, but great insights from both of you. You guys are very sharp, super intelligent. I enjoy meeting with you guys every week. And for those of you watching on YouTube, this is just a small example. We do this every week where we get together. It's usually a little bit more structured, and I go over a lot more data and data points, and we call a lot more trades and signals, positions like that. But yeah, we do this every week for our Trading Academy community, and information about that is down in the description. Academy.krakencryptocurrency.com. But thank you guys, Alex and Tyler, for being on. Do you guys have any final thoughts about the market, or I guess where we're going in crypto in general, and maybe as a country?
I think we're going in the right direction. The bull is on.
Hell yeah, man. Hell yeah. All right.
I mean, look at the chart. That's damn.
Yeah, man. And it's, I don't want to get too excited, but I mean, I'm seeing people post things like, oh, this is like pivotal, this is foundational, like, we're now entering, like, crypto people, you're entering into the most prosperous area of your time of your life. Like, it's, and I don't want to get caught up in rhetoric.
Yeah, but the only like disclaimer that I will put is that I still am of the belief that we are never going to get altcoin seasons like we've seen in the past, for the simple reason that a lot of the money right now in crypto is flowing through the ETFs, and the rotation that was the kind of the fuel for all season in the past is not going to happen the same way.
Mm-hmm.
ETFs, the money in the ETFs is not going to go in shitcoins.
Yeah.
It's just locked in a different instrument, right?
Yeah.
It's still Bitcoin, but it's in a different instrument. So a lot of people that buy ETFs, they probably never touched a DEX in their life.
Sure.
They don't even know what Cardano or XRP or Chainlink are. Right?
Absolutely.
They're buying a Bitcoin ETF. So I don't know how much of the money is going to actually flow into the altcoins. Yeah. They will go up, but I don't know. I'm becoming more of a Bitcoin maxi this cycle.
Hey, well, come on in, man. Come on in. I do think, I mean, to strengthen your point, right? I think, the market is just so different. We saw from the categories, like what's popping as far as altcoins go. Well, it's memes, right? And infrastructure for decentralized trading. You know what I mean? It's not, you know, your top tier altcoins, let's call them. You know what I mean? It's not top 100 by market capitalization altcoins like would have been staples in your portfolio in cycles previously. So I think you're absolutely right. All right, guys. Well, with that, I got to call it. Let's actually get back here. All right. Thank you guys so much. For those of you who are watching later, for those of you who will watch this mentoring session later, and for those of you watching this on YouTube, guys, thank you so much. Stay safe out there. Trade safely. I will be back tomorrow with another episode. And again, thank you to Alex and Tyler for joining me. Check out the links in the description to trade on ByDFi with my referral link. Help support our channel and earn some great rewards and trade with me. And check out the Academy if you're interested. I will see you guys tomorrow. Cheers now.